My name's Corey. We're going to be doing a seafood chowder, my style. Everybody has their own way to do it, so we're going to show you how to cut up the vegetables, get them into the pot to sweat them out, and then we'll continue on from there. So it's a seafood chowder, not a clam chowder. You can make it a clam chowder if you want by just adding clams and nothing else. But it's the same ingredients, just less of the seafood. So we're going to show you to chop the vegetables first, and then here we go. Okay, so we're going to do the celery first. You want to go on big stalks. Cut them in half like that if they're big, because you don't want them too big. Leave the leaves in there because it's good flavor. It's the strongest part of the celery for the flavor of the soup. So you just want to put your hand out like that and just continue cutting them. You want to get them as even as possible because of the fact you want them to cook evenly, and that's to do with all the vegetables. You want the onions the same size. You want the potatoes a little bit bigger because they're a starch, but the carrots the same size. So once that's done, you got it all there. Throw it into the pot. It might look like a lot, but it's not, because you got to remember it reduces down. So that's that. Next thing we're going to do is going to do the onion. Best way to do the onion is get a whole onion, cut both ends. Cut both ends off.
350 damage.
Garbage. Cut it in half. And peel the outer layer of skin off. I go 2 layers down because it gets rid of all the unnecessary slimy bits or whatever else you got. See that little skin there, the translucent skin? You don't want that. And that part there. So we're going to go down 1 layer a little bit deeper. Take that off and shazam. Oh, well, if you got more, all you need to do is just cut it like that and it's gone. You don't want that in your soup because it's gross. Done. Cut your onions. Slice them up. Like that. Keep going. Watch your fingers. And once you're done, all I like to do is a rough chop on it. Doesn't have to look pretty, but you want to break them down into kind of like, you know, the same size of the celery and the carrots. So when you see that, basically that's what you're looking for right there. Nothing more, nothing less. So that's your onions. And my eyes are watering. Try not to chop too much, because what happens is you release the oils in the onion there, and it burns your eyes. Ouch. Okay, next thing we're going to do, potatoes. Peeled. I do a rough peel because some skin on there is okay, kind of thing, because it adds a little bit of flavor, but you don't want too much peel because it's not what it's about. It's about the seafood. Cut her in half. Cut her in quarters. And all I do is cube them. Try to make them all the same size. As you can see, they're pretty equal. Same thing here. And the potatoes are done. That's all you're going to do. I do, for amount of potatoes, I do as many as I want for in my soup. You can do 3, you can do 4, you can do 5. It doesn't really matter. I like to do, you know, 5 or 6 potatoes, medium-sized potatoes. Now you're not going to sweat these off with the carrots and the celery and the onion. You're gonna, that's separate. You're gonna add that later. So this is your first sweat. But what you want to do before you finish that, finish doing the garlic. Now, the garlic, the best way to do the garlic is, what I do, is I cut the tops off. Just like that. The rough ends, you got the rough end and you got the soft end. Don't have to cut it all the way through, just like that. You know, just get a little wet. What happens is when you go to crush them, is the skins are going to stay together, and you're going to peel it off just like that. And there's your garlic. Just that simple. There's no muss, there's no fuss, definitely no mess. Done. Same thing here, and gone. That's as simple as it gets. You don't have garlic leaves all over the freaking place. Once that's done, chop them up. Same thing. Once that's done, just chop them up Doesn't have to be perfect because by the time it cooks in the soup, it's going to be softened up and it's going to melt right into the rest of the ingredients. All right. Corey Hart again. We call it at the heart of cooking, or heart of cooking. We are going to sweat out the vegetables to bring out the flavors, and these are just the root vegetables. You're not going to add the garlic or the potatoes yet because you want to get the flavors from this. So you add a little bit of oil to your pot. Just be a little bit generous, probably about 2 tablespoons. Let that get a little bit smoky. The pan's already hot. You can feel the heat off of it. So when you add your vegetables, you're going to hear the sizzle. And then as soon as you do, you turn it down to medium-low, and you just let it cook. So it's hot now. Root vegetables are going in. And that's the sound that you want to hear. And if you want to take a look, that's what you want to see. Turn it down to medium-low. Say about between 4 and 5 on your Richter scale on your stove. And once you're doing that for a little while, you're going to keep it going for say 15-20 minutes, and then you're going to add your garlic, which is right here already finely chopped, and then you're going to add your pre-cut potatoes at the same time. If you pre-cut your potatoes, soak them in water, they don't turn brown. So with 15 minutes here, after that, you keep the temperature the same, add your garlic, add your potatoes, and you go for another 10-12 minutes just to bring the flavors out a little bit more. If you put the garlic in too soon, it'll burn and it'll ruin the flavor of the soup. That's all you're going to taste. So you want to put it in, 15 minutes after the root vegetables have already been sweating. We call it sweating because it brings the flavors out. So that's what we're doing right now. We'll get back to you on the next round. Now I didn't also say that we got carrots in there as well. So it's carrots, celery, and onion. That's all that's in there. And we've cut them up to equal pieces. Now you can use the amount of ingredients that you want based on how much you want to make. So that's the size of pot that I'm making, and that's what I'm using. So I'm not using any measurements because I know what I want to put in there. If you want like a bag of carrots, 2 carrots, if you want like a pound of fish, then you can do what you want. It's all about how much you want to put in. It's a good portion of the root vegetables. You don't want a whole lot of potatoes because they get really starchy and thicken up the soup too much. So it's a lot of sweat vegetables, and then the garlic. That's up to you how much you want to add as well. So it's celery, carrots, and onion. Sweat them out first. And in about another 10 more minutes, you add your potatoes and your garlic, and you give that another 10 minutes. Back here, and the root vegetables have sweated. My videographer Steve Bettle shine into the pot. That's how they look. They don't look much different, but they are wilted and they are cooked. So you can see that. All right. So now what we're going to add? We're going to add the potatoes. Potatoes go in. And why do we do that? We do that because of the fact that we don't want the potatoes to cook too hard because they're very starchy and they'll just break down. We use russet potatoes because it adds the starch and makes the soup a little thicker, and also it gives you the potato taste as well. But you don't want to add them too soon because you don't want to break them down. You want them to be somewhat whole by the time they're cooked. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to add the garlic that we had chopped earlier, and that's going to go into the pan. If you want to, yeah, there you go. So into the pan. And like I said before, the reason why we do that is because garlic burns fast, and if it cooks too hard and gets too brown and it burns, all you're going to taste is burnt garlic, and that's the last thing that you want in your soup. Alright, there's the potatoes in there with the rest of the root vegetables and the garlic. That sweated off for about 12 to 15 minutes. Now we're ready to add the rest of the ingredients to continue on. So what we're going to do is, I use chicken broth. It's cheap, easy, and tastes good. Alright, there you go. That's the sweated off root vegetables with the potatoes and garlic. Root vegetables for about 20 minutes. Then you add your garlic and your potato for another 12 to 15 more. It adds flavor. Now we're going to add the rest of the ingredients, which includes chicken broth. So you dump the whole thing in there. Dump it all in there. Add some flavor. Try not to get all over the walls. Not too late. And that's it. Let that go for a few minutes. And bring it up to another temperature, say around 7 on your thing, medium high. Get the water going. I like to add lemongrass. It adds a bit of another element. You don't have to. It gets a bit of a lemony flavor. It's not powerful, where that's all you taste. It's just kind of subtle hint. So just add that in there like that. You have to break it up to break up the fibers to add the goodness that goes into the soup. Now, add your shrimp. Throw it all in there. I use tiger shrimp, already peeled, ready to go, because of the fact that you don't want to use frozen. It's always fresh seafood. The only thing that you want to use that's not is the clams, which is right here, and I use cloverleaf baby clams in water, and you're going to add the whole ingredients into the pan. The other thing that I add is Boston bluefish. I've just found this out a couple weeks ago. It's a fantastic fish. It's almost kind of like a sea bass. It's very good. It's very vibrant. It's got good flavor, and it's going to add such incredible flavor to your soup. It's redonkulous. So, add the rest of your shrimp. It's in the pan. You're going to add your clams. Okay, there you go. There's basically how it's going to look. Give it a quick little stir. That's the main ingredients of your soup pretty much in there. I got to go put the white fish in there yet. And also, while you're doing it, you want to have one of these. I'm drinking Ryan Diet Coke just because it makes everything come together. It's like, adding garlic to your soup. You have to have something to drink while you're doing it. Other than that, you're going to cut up your white fish. And what I like to do is cut along the muscle here. So I just cut it into like 1-inch strips, like that. Keep her going. And I'll leave that one the way it is. It's just over 1 inch. But what you want to do now is you want to cube it. Now you got to remember too, when you're cooking it, is what's going to happen is the fish is going to break down, and it's going to come really soft and kind of melt into the soup. So it doesn't really truly matter how big you cut it into pieces, because it's going to break apart into the soup and just add that much more flavor. So don't worry about how big the chunks are going to be. I just do it in 1-inch cubes because it's easier to work with. Once again, add them into your soup. All in there. I said the temperature is up around 8 on your thing there. We have the last ingredient that's going to go in near the end. You don't want to overcook mussels in the shell, primarily for presentation, but it adds a lot of flavor. So we put them in there, say the last 15 minutes of the soup, and it adds a good presentation, and it looks fantastic in the soup when you're serving it. Other than that, we'll come back when it's ready to add the cream. Alright, this has been cooking for about, say 12 minutes on about between 7 and 8 on the Richter scale. You want to bring as soon as you add all the ingredients, the seafood, it's going to lower the temperature, so you want to bring it back up to a simmering point. I bring it up to around 7 or 8 kind of thing. Like I said, 10, 12 minutes, you get it going. And now what you want to do, you want to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Not too much salt, but you need to add a little bit. So what I do, instead of dashing 100 million times, I just open it up and I'll add, a good amount. If you want to focus in there, you can see what I've added. That's all you really need to add. Salt. What I'll do is I'll add maybe a half a tablespoon kind of thing, and that's all I need to add. That way later when you go pour your own bowl of soup, you can add your own salt to flavor. Don't want to add too much. Over salting will ruin the soup in the bowl. That's it. You gotta remember all the seafood salty from the sea. It's all in there. So anyways, there you go. Turn it down just a little bit more. I turn it down to say about between a 6 and a 7. Give it a quick stir, and basically this is what your seafood's going to look like. Kind of like that. You see the shrimp in there, you see all the carrots, it's all good to go, right? That's how you want it to look. Kind of like that. You see the big chunks of white fish, the Boston bluefish in there, the shrimp are good to go. Okay, potatoes are already starting to break down. So we're laughing. Now the next thing to do is add the cream. So what we're going to do, keep focusing on that here. Oh, that's not good. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're going to add the cream. Somebody's moved it on here. First off, have a fridge that's big enough for everything. Alright, so we're going to add the cream. Half and half. Half and half. 1 liter. There's usually standard procedure on the amount of cream, so I'll just add that to it. Dump it all in there. And you can see it coming into shape. That's how you want it to look. It's starting to look creamy, delicious. You know, it's got that, you know, that's how a soup starts to look. You don't want to leave it that way because you want it to have a little bit of thickness, a little bit of volume, a little bit of, you know, density. So I add usually 35% cream, but because we're drinking tonight, we're going to add 18%. So 18% in there, and it's usually a half liter. And technically, that's all the ingredients that you need. The last thing that we need to do is we need to add these, the mussels, PEI mussels, fresh, not frozen, fresh. We're going to add those near the end, last 10 minutes of the soup. Basically, that's the soup. That's all you need to add, nothing else. You can take out the, if you want to add the lemongrass anytime. It's only there for a little bit of a hint of flavor. And basically, that's how your soup's going to look. You're going to leave that cook for about another, I'd say give it an hour to an hour and 15 minutes on medium to low. Say on your stove, about a 5. And just let it keep simmering. And what will happen is it will thicken up and all the flavors will melt together and be absolutely delicious. Now you can see how that looks. Take a big swoop and you can see all the seafood in there. That's a seafood chowder, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you want it to look. Alright, now that's been simmering for about an hour now. As you can see, I've got it on 3 on the stove. So, Richter scale of 3. I like to use that because it sounds powerful. Let it simmer for an hour and 15 minutes, and it's there. So I'll just show you what it looks like now. It's been simmering for a while, and the broth is all come together. It's thickening up. Right, the potatoes are adding as a good starch to thicken up the soup, and you can see the consistency there. This is what you want. That there, because it's a little bit brown, is getting flavor. There's flavor in there. Look at that. That is what you want. That is deliciousness. Okay, so what we're going to do now, take that out. We're going to add the mussels. Now the mussels, you want to make sure they're fresh, that they're closed. These are closed. You don't want them open because it'll make you sick, and you never know where they've been. It could be like a bad Saturday night, you know, like going to the bar. You want them closed, right? That's how you want them. So we add those in there, and that's the last part of it. That's mostly for taste, flavor, and presentation. You don't need to add them in there, but I do because I love mussels and they look good upon presentation. The last thing you want to add to is, you don't really need to, but I do. You can make a corn chowder, you can make a clam chowder, you can make a seafood chowder, you can make a beef chowder. I don't care what you like, but You can add corn. Corn goes good with everything. Add corn near the end. It doesn't need to be reduced out. It doesn't need to be sweated. It's just added flavor. It's added texture. I like to add it because I like corn. I love corn. I add in there.
You sell that corn, buddy.
I thank you very much. And this is giant green or green giant corn going in. And how much to add? Well, you know what? Add what you want. I like to add about maybe quarter, half the bag. Half the bag's done. We're done. Now what I like to do is, as you can see in the pot, just give her another quick stir. And you can see how thick the soup is. You see how thick that is? You want kahunas. You want balls to your soup. If you don't have balls to your soup, then it's just going to be... This is what happens when you go to like Red Robin or Anducci's. It's going to look like this. I want some clam chowder, please. And this is what you're going to get. Nothing but broth. Maybe a potato. Maybe something else. That's what you're going to get. But you're going to come to Hart's Kitchen and you're going to order clam chowder or seafood chowder. And this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a mouthful of goodness. Look at that. Now that is going to go in your bowl. That's what you want. So, let that simmer for another 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And you're good. And that's it. And the end result is we already have the broth. It's ready to go. I'm going to have a little sip of that. Holy jeez. That's just delicious. Steve, my videographer, here we go.
That's too much.
How is it?
Oh my God.
I'm going to take the camera on him. How is it, Steve?
Just better than that.
Is that disgustingly tasty?
I don't deserve this.
I know you don't. Neither do I. But hopefully the people that watch this do. And it's delicious. So thanks for watching the video. I'm Corey Hart. And it's my videographer, Steve Bedell.
At the Chowder cooking.
And that's your clam chowder or / seafood chowder.
Let's eat this.
And that's the way to do it. And it's delicious. Thank you for watching.